Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining GE Global today for the webinar. So today we are going to spill the secret of how you can eliminate up to 70% of your test automation costs. My name is Sangeeta Jash and I'm the marketing manager at GE Global and also your moderator today for this webinar. We have Amit Iyer here with us to discuss this topic in more detail. I also wanted to cover some logistics on how to operate the control panel in case you're not familiar with it, so that we can interact with you during the presentation. You can expand or collapse attendee control panes by clicking on the plus or minus on the upper left side of each pane to access the different features. If you find that you are having a hard time hearing, you could switch audio formats. You can do that in the audio pane by selecting either use telephone or use mic and speakers. You'll have noticed that your phone lines are on mute. So if you would like us to ask something, then you can either type a question into the question box and click send, or you can click on the small raise hand icon at top left. Now I would like to introduce Amit Iyer. Amit is the consulting director at GE Global. He heads the technology and engineering services group. He is an avid technologist and has a keen interest on how mobility and social is changing today's world and have a deep impact on how enterprises operate. I will hand it over to Amit now, who will review the agenda and continue with the presentation. Over to you, Amit.
Thanks, Sangeeta. Good morning, good afternoon to all who have joined. Thanks for taking your time. We appreciate that. Today I'm going to be focusing about the Xenon automation solution. Before I kind of jump into the solution and the features of the solutions and why we built it, I would like to kind of talk a little bit about the history of Xenon, how we built it and things like that. So as Sangeeta mentioned, we have been in this, the QA practice has been around for about 10 years in JADE. We've been working with several class-leading tools, including the likes of HPQTP and the IBM RFTs of the world, kind of putting together several automation projects successfully across various different kinds of tools and frameworks. So Xenon is basically an amalgamation of some of these best practices and what we have learned out of several years of test automation projects. And all these lessons have been kind of put together into a solution that we think is kind of end-to-end solution and the ideal framework that you need to have to ensure that your automation project is successful. It's a completely ROI-led approach focused on ensuring the fastest possible return of investment on automation. It can save up to 70% of your costs compared to traditional approaches is what we have noticed across our projects that we have executed. And it can also save about over 90% efforts compared to typical manual testing that you would see. So Xenon is basically a product of our test center of excellence amidst other things that we do. That includes manual testing as well as non-functional testing like performance testing or mobile testing or cloud-based testing. I'm going to be moving to the next slide. If you have any questions, you can feel free to kind of send to me throughout the session and I'll kind of address it at the end of the session. So to start off with, what is Xenon? So we are Selenium partners. GE Global is Selenium Silver sponsor. We work very closely with Selenium and its adjoining frameworks. And over the years, we kind of put together a very large kind of framework over and above the baseline Selenium approach. And what we are able to do using this is move away from the Selenium barriers of only testing web-based applications, and we are able to test any kind of applications using this framework. So leveraging Xenon, you're able to test desktop, mobile, web, or enterprise applications. So whether it's cloud-based applications or applications that are invoked using your desktop, or even legacy mainframe applications, you would be able to test any of these leveraging Xenon. Then we also focus heavily on enterprise application automation. That includes a lot of integration testing across various enterprise applications. Some of the applications could be in-house on-premise applications, some could be on the cloud applications. I'd be kind of running a demo subsequently that kind of shows how typical integration scenario is handled. And then needless to say, some of the most common use cases with automation testing is around portals, e-commerce, enterprise applications, Java and .NET based applications. The other kind of automation testing that are becoming increasingly popular is a lot of cross-browser testing, a lot of cloud application testing as applications move from on-premise to the cloud. Mobile testing is also a key part of Xenon. We have already integrated APM as part of Xenon, and mobile testing is something that Xenon is capable of doing. So basically, it's a one-stop framework for all your testing needs, and Xenon is kind of your answer to have a unified automation strategy. So coming down to what are the key features and value propositions and what did we build over and above the underlying Selenium platform is it can test any application. So you're no longer limited to web-based testing only. Leveraging our custom wrappers, you can test any applications, whether it's legacy mainframe applications or the more modern cloud-based applications. You can be testing any of this. It's an integrated, intelligent automation framework. By that, what I mean is right from managing your test cases in your test repository all the way till raising a defect, the entire test SDLC can be completely accelerated. It's completely automated. It requires no manual intervention whatsoever. Defects can be automatically pushed. So irrespective of whichever defect tracking tool that you use, you might be using Jira or a Bugzilla or any other defect tracking tool per se, it can be automatically, the framework can automatically raise defects for you. There is intelligent dashboard and email reporting. So at the end of automation build run, you would be able to see your entire pass and fail scenarios, a total summary of what happened, what ran, what didn't run, what were the problems. And it automatically also raises the defects for you, as I said. Xenon also takes care of the most fundamental challenge that we face typically in any test automation project, that's around test data management. In my demo, I'll talk a little bit more detail about what I mean by test data management. But typically what I mean is most of our enterprise applications, whether it's portals, whether it's on-premise applications, whether it's an ERP system or a CRM system for that matter, require forms that requires a lot of input data for both positive and negative test cases. So how do you manage all these data centrally? How can you automate that part as well is something that Xenon takes care of. And then there is smart test management, which is basically how can you give the power to your users in terms of running test cases? How can it be so simple for you to just select a set of test cases and run these test cases against your source applications at a click of a button? Apart from that, given our extensive experience of 100+ projects across multiple ERP and CRM systems, we have also created our own test accelerator suites, which is basically an out-of-box test cases for ERP and CRM applications. So a little bit more about what Xenon can do. It supports both TDD and BDD based approaches. It's a flexible framework and do data-driven, keyword-driven, and hybrid approaches. It's all integrated. It comes out of box integrated with plenty of different kinds of tools, which includes test management tools, defect tracking tools, continuous integration tools. Now, the most fundamental factor on which we designed Xenon was how can it help us accelerate every stage of your software SDLC. So whether it's a test planning stage, whether it's an automation development, or whether it's test execution phase, or whether it's documentation reporting or post deployment maintenance of scripts is concerned, Xenon helps you with each and every step of the software SDLC and helps you accelerate this. And in the next few slides, I'll kind of run through what I mean by accelerating each of these phases. So when it comes to test planning, right, the traditional approach or what we see historically is the quality of your test planning and the repository where we store your test cases is usually scattered. So unless you're using a centralized system, which in most cases we don't see because of lack of QA practices, in some cases we see that. So what happens typically is your test cases can be scattered and depends on the quality of your tester as to how he writes the test cases. It's not consistent usually. It may be lying in Excel in a desktop. It may be lying somewhere else where maintainability is difficult. What we have done is we have used open source tools like TestLink. We've used Quality Center that can be easily hooked on to Xenon and all your test case repositories that can be centrally managed and executed from. So all your detailed documentation is already in place. The pre-documented test cases can be used directly leveraging some of these tools like TestLink, TestRail, or Quality Center. And then Xenon is capable of doing your documentation for you. So basically it can write the test cases back into the system as well once the test case is executed. So basically you don't have to be doing documentation separately after the automation run. So when it comes to automation development, which kind of the next step beyond test planning, as I said, it works with different kinds of frameworks, whether it's data-driven, keyword-driven, hybrid frameworks. It is based on the parameters of reusability. How can you optimize your configuration? How can you be flexible and reusable down to your core? How can you reduce your ongoing costs? How can script maintenance be easy leveraging the page object model? How can you intelligently manage your test data, whether it's with Excel or database connectors? We can do all of that. The screenshots show some of the ways in which some of these configuration parameters are set up while automation development. And this kind of helps you significantly reduce your cost of development when it comes to automation. In many cases, we have seen this saves up to even 70% of your costs. Coming to test execution, we have an inbuilt test build manager as part of Xenon, which helps you manage your test builds easily. So what basically it gives is it gives power to the user. Now this is something I'll further show in my demo as well. But what I mean by that is you no longer need to be a technical user to be using a test automation tool. You can simply be a business UAT user. You can come in, log into a portal, select a build or build a build in which you are able to select the test cases, combine those test cases into a smoke testing suite, a regression testing suite, or a functional module, and at a click of a button, you can execute these test cases. So you can basically what it gives you, it gives you the smoke regression, the module-wise builds that you want to be generating on demand. Apart from that, because it's based on the Selenium framework, it also supports concurrent, distributed, or scheduled test executions. So whether you want to be running 10 different VMs with a lot of load, a few thousand test cases overnight, all this is absolutely possible leveraging this framework. Coming back to documentation and reporting, I mentioned about the intelligent dashboard. So at the end of a test run, right? If you have run 1,000 test cases, the framework tells you which are the test cases which are passed, which have failed, where the bugs have been created, and things like that. It's all created considering usability into aspects, creating simple dashboards in which any user can come and check what really happened, what were the builds that ran previously, how did the current build run compared to the previous build run. So how do you kind of benchmark and kind of continuously improve your test productivity? All of these things can be measured using this. I also mentioned about automated defect push previously, which means if you're already using a defect tracking tool today, Xenon can raise defects automatically on behalf of a tester. So it's no longer the case that you're running an entire automation suite, then you're looking at logs and heavy logs and execution runs and then creating those defects manually. Defects are automatically created, and the defects are created with enough information and screenshots that your developer can go in and directly kind of resolve those bugs. So we have thought through the fact that usually there is this ping pong between your developer and your tester, and developers always say that, hey, I can't reproduce this bug. So all those problems have been thought through while building Xenon. We have taken screenshots at every business process step that your developer can leverage and look at and check which is the exact step where it failed and why did it fail. So simulation becomes easy for a developer, which in case helps you in the SDLC, in shortening the SDLC process, because that means your defects can be fixed faster and retested. It automatically does your test case documentation for you, which means you do not really need a manual tester to go back and do the documentation. The Xenon tool automatically updates back your test case repository, whether you're using TestLink or any other test management software. It can automatically log in back to there, update the test cases, give the pass-fail criteria and things like that. I'll be talking about that detail in the next demo. So in terms of integrations, right, what have we, this is basically a continuously increasing domain. So what we have considered is we have used several of the most popular automation testing tools that are available in the open source world, that include Selenium, Securely, AutoIt, APM, Maven, and things like that. And we've kind of leveraged all the best practices and the powerful features from some of these tools. We've also integrated with several test management and continuous integration tools like Jenkins, the Bamboo, Jira. So some of these tools we can use out of the box with Xenon. Then we also use defect tracking tools like Mantis, Bugzilla, or Redmine, which is a project management tool, to kind of help you raise these defects automatically. Even if you have a different defect tracking tool, which many of the cases our customers are already using, you can simply hook on to these because we have all the APIs in place already. And then to support behavior-driven development, we have already integrated with Cucumber and JBehave in case you are using this for your UAT testing. So what we thought through is whatever are the key components that you typically require to go through a test as DLC phase, come kind of pre-integrated with Xenon. In terms of the technologies, we have it's basically all Java based. So in terms of skill set, if you think about skill set, all the kind of skill sets that you require is typically a Selenium and a Java engineer to kind of maintaining this in the longer run. So this is no proprietary technology. This is not a technology that requires a lot of training. It's something that's very commonly available. In terms of desktop browser support, as you can see, it can support multiple browsers. It can support multiple server OSs and things like that. You can work it over a Linux or a Mac OS, or you can run it over Windows, or you can do a distributed testing across multiple these servers if you are to be doing a lot of cross-browser testing or cross-platform testing. The other feature that we have built over the period of last few years is an accelerator suites around ERP and CRM suites. So these are typically common applications that we see every enterprise using. You use a typical ERP, Oracle EBS or SAP or SFDC. These are pretty common applications that are used in an enterprise. We've created 100+ test cases for each of these applications that are already pre-built within Xenon that you can use. Obviously, these test cases are vanilla test cases, and whatever functionalities that you have customized in your environment needs to be kind of built further, added further. But what we've seen generally is leveraging this baseline test cases typically helps you accelerate the process by another 30%. So you can literally leverage some of these functional expertise and test cases that we have built for automation and kind of leverage that in the environment to accelerate. So from here, I'm going to be jumping out of the PowerPoint mode and going into a demo mode. And I'm going to kickstart the demo. So this is a demo in which we have kind of used TestLink as a test management tool, and we have kind of created 3 scenarios within the TestLink tool, and we kind of run through these 3 scenarios and what typically happens in a pass and fail scenario. So the first is basically an order management scenario in which we are going to be verifying an order, and here is how typically test cases are documented in TestLink. The second case is actually an integration scenario in which you have multiple ERP or CRM system or portals integration or cloud-based integration that can be handled. So how can your automation testing have a unified strategy towards your business processes that can flow across multiple applications? How do you validate all of that? That's kind of, we've taken 2 examples in that. Here is a screen that shows you how typically you manage test data. So whether you have multiple forms, portals, screens in which there are certain set of test data needed, you can all manage it in a structured way using this. You can run multiple subsets of data against the same form. So for example, if you want to be running positive and negative test case scenario, you can have a data set of about 100 test cases which you can run from there. So this is the basic Xenon build manager. It's secured in terms of username, password, and you can create multiple users that can come and use the system on its own. It's pretty intuitive and easy to use, requires no training whatsoever. And the login gives you a view of the dashboard. The dashboard tells you what all test cases and builds have you run in the past, what have failed and passed, and the statistics behind that, how many bugs were raised, who are the users who are meant to be accessing some of these test cases. And these are all pretty easy self-service items that you can do. You can add test cases, add a test plan, add a module to your, it's like project management features for your test case management. So here what we'll do is today we'll try to create a new build, and we'll be selecting a set of test cases. So we'll be selecting a set of test cases that we want to be using. So this makes it easier for any non-technical user or even a business user to be doing his UAT leveraging this system, because once the automation is done, he can actually come in, click these test cases, create his own build and run those builds. You can actually select to run the whole test case suite, or you can create subset of builds that you can use for automation. So it's like a simple shopping cart. You come in, you select the test cases, you run against those test cases automatically. You select which browser do you want to run it on, and you just click on a button in which the automation execution will get triggered. The system automatically launches the kind of source applications in question. So in this case, we have used an Oracle EBS application. And we're going through an order management scenario in which we are going to be pushing in multiple sets of data from an Excel into an Oracle form. Now in this case, we have used an Oracle form, and you can use, it could be a portal, it could be a CRM application, it could be any kind of an application literally, there's no limit to it. So conventionally, you would notice Selenium will not be able to work with Oracle forms because Oracle forms are applet based, whereas our framework kind of substitutes that problem and helps you run through that across any application. So we are kind of running 2 sets of data, which we had in an Excel sheet. So if you want to be running a few hundred sets of data sets across your forms, you could do that. We have slowed down this demo significantly because you want to be seeing this demo, but usually automation runs would be very fast. It's usually as fast as the source application. This is a second scenario in which we kind of taken a web-based system. We've used Salesforce.com, a cloud-based CRM, and we kind of integrated that with an order management scenario. So for example, if you're doing a certain set of business processes onto a system that integrates with other system, how do you kind of test those scenarios? So we're kind of creating an account on Salesforce.com, and in turn we're going to be creating an opportunity and code on Salesforce.com. And how does that flow into, as an order into your order management system is what we covered as part of this integration scenario. And this integration scenario could be at various levels. You could do it via your front-end screens, or you could as well do it from your to database validation. So for example, if you're going to be generating an order number from a backend of a different application, you can use some of the JDBC adapters to validate that. So in this case, we created a quote on the CRM system, and then we are kind of moving into automatically creating an order in your order management system. Now, all of this is created very modularly, which means you can be picking and choosing any components you want and kind of stitching it as you need it. So for the code generated, we are creating an order. So we are leveraging the data that was created in the previous system instance and kind of using that in the next system. So imagine an integration scenario in which your workflow is across multiple business systems. The framework is kind of written to kind of work with that. So we're using the same quote number as that was created previously in the CRM and kind of generating an order for it. It can create multiple different subsets for data. It can create multiple complex scenarios, whether it's data or integration. All of them can be handled. This is a third scenario in which we're kind of trying to purposefully fail a particular test case, and what happens next is something we will see. So the whole point of automation testing is you want to be kind of going through all your past scenarios pretty quickly without wasting a lot of manual time. So in this case, there is a failure that happens here, and what happens next is the framework has automatically done your documentation for you. So you can go back to test link, and you can see on the left-hand side, you would see the screens, the first two scenarios being marked in green. Whereas the third scenario, you would see a red line at the bottom. So what it means is it has automatically updated back your build and test link, which is your test management tool, and it's automatically already created a bug for you for the last failure scenario, and that bug we have used Jira as a tool in this case to kind of create the bug. Now, all the steps that were necessary to kind of give the developer the information about what really happened for this bug to be caused, the screenshots, all of them are kind of already populated into Jira. So which means your developer does not have to ask your tester to reproduce a scenario for him. It's already in Jira. He has all the information that he needs in Jira. So here is a screenshot at the point of time where the failure occurred. The execution results are also automatically emailed. You can configure it to send it to any email or a DL, and you can see the overall past test case. So there are 3 total test cases, out of which there are 13 sub-steps. Out of 13, 12 passed and 1 failed. You can also go back to your QA dashboard, and it can give you a build summary of how this build run compared to the previous build runs. So you can see the dates along with some of these test cases ran, and you can kind of compare them, the pass, fail scenarios and the ones which were not executed. This is all configurable and easy to use. So in this case, we're going to be drilling down and showing you how the navigation of these reports are. So basically what we have done is Xenon does the documentation for you, as I said. So every scenario, whether it's a pass or a fail scenario, you can configure it to kind of literally hold all the screenshots and the sub-steps that happened during that process. So tomorrow, if you want to be auditing your testing, you have all this information handy for you to prove that, hey, these are all the steps that were done. So all the sub-steps that were there within the test case scenario, as you can see, there is a pass field that is updated back into the status. So this was a scenario 3, which was a failed test case. In the failed scenario, it automatically updates the part where it failed. And you could see, you can access the Jira bug ID from here. So the traceability is there between your dashboard, your test management tool, as well as your defect tracking tool. The screenshots are there in place, which helps you easily tie down at what step what failed. The reference to the Jira bug ID exists, which kind of gives you the information, so you don't have to manually raising a defect subsequent to the run. So that's the end of the demo. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint mode So what we did, what are our key takeaways building this, right? So when we benchmarked this against running multiple automation frameworks, we thought we found we save about 70% of our effort and cost compared to conventional approaches. We believe that the core to a successful automation project is the automation framework.
Thanks, Amit, and thanks everybody for attending this webinar. If you have any questions or want to know more about our services and solutions or want to reach out to Amit, then call us on the numbers displaying on your screen or email us at marketing@jglobal.com for any other questions. We'll help out with any query you have, and thank you once again very much for attending this webinar.